Yay!
Yay! Hi, everyone. Welcome to Your Story Medicine. I am your host, Juma Kay. And today I am with Melissa Ruiz, who is a registered yoga teacher, mindset expert, and online soulpreneur business coach. After working as a TV producer for 13 years, she left everything behind to pursue her passion and her purpose. She quit her fancy six-figure job, got a divorce, and now helps other women move past their own fears so that they too can build the life and spiritual businesses they deserve. And I want to say that Melissa and I met when we both spoke on another summit. And I just love how I can meet these kindred spirits in these spaces. And we have opportunities like this to just be real with where it is we're at, despite our labels or our visibility as leaders. So thank you so much, Melissa, for joining us. And I also want to say that today's conversation is going to be
Lit.
one that might be a bit more taboo for many of us who are more in like the healing and the spiritual realm, because we're going to talk about what it looks like to still be able to sell when there seems to be so much fear and scarcity. And I also want to acknowledge that this is an important conversation for any of us who are small business owners or who are looking to monetize our gifts. And how is it that we can also heal our relationship with what that looks like? We'll cover what it is we can in our time together. But without further ado, let's all welcome Melissa.
Hey, y'all. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me. Is the audio okay?
The audio is good.
Okay,
Um,
perfect. This is a topic that I just get so crazy and I love to talk about, and I can just ramble for days when it has to do with business sales and how the two meet so beautiful. So, thank you so much for having me on. Please ask me anything that comes to mind. I am an open book. I have been there and back. So I have lots of stories. I share a lot. And I think that's what most people gravitate towards. I always get people that are like, oh my God, you shared that. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay. Shit happens and you learn from it. And I think that's the advantage point that I have, is that I just like fully embrace all the good and the bad, because that's what I feel also qualifies us, is when we get to learn from an experience and just teach from that point.
And I also know that you're not just a business coach, but you're deeply rooted in your spiritual practice. I love
Yeah.
looking at your Instagram and
Thank
how
you.
that is a priority for you and that allows you to show up in your business and your offerings even more. But first of all, tell us, where is it that you're calling from? And in your own words, how would you describe your medicine?
Mm. Thank you for asking me that question, because I think not enough people ask that, right? Like, what is your medicine? What is your gift? And I think my gift and my highest calling has been being able to be a spiritual being and combine that with business. And I just want to go back one moment. I never sought out to be a business coach. I never in my wildest dream was like, I'm going to quit my job and be a business coach. I quit my job to heal a lot of ancestral wounds, heal a lot of things that I was in pain from, heal from a divorce, heal from all the many things that I was expecting for my life, that for whatever reason, as hard as I tried using a lot of force, just wasn't happening. And if it was happening, I was feeling really bad. I I couldn't feel happy. I didn't even know what happiness meant. And I started my yoga teacher training. I went to Morocco, stood there for a month. And when I came back, my life radically changed. As the universe would have it, I came back to no job. I came back to no job. And it's so funny because I just kept saying, like, oh, I wish I could just do this forever. And be careful what you say, because the universe listened, and I came back and all I had was my yoga teacher certification. But it was great because I took a sabbatical for a year and I was just chilling and reading and laying out by the pool and figuring out what actually was making me happy. And it was just learning and getting to know my truest self, not the labels and all the other things that I had accumulated. And from that place, I started just sharing my journey. I created a course, and that's actually how I kind of stumbled and landed in becoming a business coach, because other spiritual beings were like, wait, how are you doing this? Like, how are you mixing your yoga practice or your meditation practice and creating courses and monetizing and, having huge cash months? That was something that wasn't seen a lot in our community. And if it was seen as, oh, I'm going to look down on this because either A, we should provide our spiritual gift for free. Who has heard that? Like, I know I have, right? Like, this should be for free. This should be for everybody. And I remember really quickly, like, thinking, like, no, that doesn't feel good for me. Like, do I provide free services? Absolutely. I have an offering every Sunday that's free for any essential worker right now in crisis. So yes, I do have free offerings, but like what I wanted to do, it required the person to level up, and it required the person to level up in a big financial way, because I knew from experience, from my TV experience, that that's how you move the needle forward in any business. And I wanted to be true to that. And I wanted to apply those business models that I learned in my spiritual business that I had just kind of stumbled on, and that people were not forcing me to do, but like, I really had people knocking down my door, like, teach me how to create a spiritual course, teach me how to do what you're doing. I started getting on one-on-one clients. So that's my medicine. My medicine is bridging sales, making it fun, and making people realize that this is how we also serve. And that in fact, it is a disservice for me in my eyes that I have a potential gift to show somebody how to make money and me not show it to them. Matter of fact, I picture it like this. If you had a best friend that really needed you right now, for whatever reason, and maybe their boyfriend was cheating on them or whatever, and they came knocking on your door, and you know that you can help them. You know that by taking a walk with them that would help, or by picking up the phone call, and you just simply were like, sorry, friend, like, you're always in that position. I'm not going to help you. That's the service for me. And that's how I started feeling about my business. I'm like, wait, I want everybody to know all the stuff that I've learned and acquired, because I know it's going to help you too. And instead of me just creating money, like, let's all create money, right? Let's all create abundance, because when we are in alignment with our higher self, that's what abundance feels like. And I just want to add one more thing. Abundance doesn't always have to be in money. And I think people really get that mixed up. They're like, it has to be money. No, abundance for me is freedom. Abundance for me is learning when to cap off, not taking too many clients, and serving from my whole full heart, and still being able to get on my mat, and still be able to every morning make sure that I meditate and make sure that I do all the things that fill me up first. That's abundance for me to always put myself first before my clients. And I teach my clients to do the same thing. Don't put your clients first, put yourself first. That's how you honor your highest self. When you show up and you're like, okay, I'm ready to do my practice. I'm ready to do my prayer. I'm ready to do my journal. I'm ready to do whatever it is that you need to do first. From that place, you can serve.
Yeah. We're done here.
Yeah.
Just kidding. So I do see a comment that I will get back to. Where does enrolling and selling work for those who are projectors in the human design type? And I actually have a recommendation for you on somebody who does human design. But I think that everything that Melissa is speaking to is the importance of operating from that place of alignment before we even talk about enrolling and sales. And I feel like this is especially important for us who come from backgrounds where we didn't grow up with economic privilege, or maybe we did. And it's like, when I think about my own parents, they came to the United States with less than $500 in their pocket and pursued the American dream to the point where I eventually had the privilege of being able to have a choice of what it is I want to do with my own life. But I say that because I feel like, especially for women, for people of color, there's so much of that internal work we must do, and the intergenerational healing in order to up-level ourselves in not only our business, but our life. And with my clients, I don't even call it a business anymore, because I feel like there's so much baggage that comes with that word. as if it equates to capitalism and the colonizers. And so what I ask is, well, what is the legacy you want to leave behind? And so
I love
this
that.
brings me to my next question. Tell us more about your ancestral lineage and how this has influenced the way you're showing up today.
All right, so this is probably going to be a lot of info, especially for those that don't know my entire story when it comes to my background. I don't think I've shared as much, so this is going to be a real treat. Basically, my dad was a refugee from Cuba, and he escaped. He's a political refugee, and he escaped Cuba, joined the military here in New York, and my mom was the oldest of 8. And she basically had schooling till like the 5th grade because she had to take care of all of her siblings. Her mom basically, just left them. She had to come here. So like they had a lot of struggle. And I say this story because it really shaped me in a really beautiful way, because it was always the focal point of do something with your life, Melissa, and not just for me, but for all of my siblings. It was like, go to school, make something of yourself and really build this life or American dream, if you will. And my sister was the first to graduate in our family, and I was the second. And those all of those things feel really good. And I saw my dad work really, really hard, and my mom stay at home. And I remember from a young age, I just like wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew that I wanted to like just create and have a business and be in control of my own money. Like it was something that from a very young age, I was like, I don't want to work for anybody. Plus, I'm also a little bit of a rebel. And I think most of us spiritual people are, we want to do what we want to do. And it's hard for us to do what other people want us to do. So needless to say, at the very beginning of my journey in schooling, in college, there was always this battle of me excelling in whatever job I chose, but also me wanting to do my own thing. And I'm glad that at this point I left and I was able to just take that really scary step and be an entrepreneur. But it came with a lot of learning about my past and a lot of things that held both of my parents back, and money was at the focal point for them. They struggled a lot, and I saw that struggle and I learned from it. And I think instead of being a victim to our situations or our surroundings, from a very young age, I could still remember being like 8 years old and thinking like, I can't wait to leave this town. I grew up in a really small town. It was 47 blocks. Like you can walk my whole town. And I remember thinking like, I can't wait to leave. And I was like 8. Like, I can't wait to leave. I can't wait to be rich. Like, I want to live in New York. And like, I had these big dreams because I felt so stuck in a box. And I saw how my parents were also stuck in a box. Like their income had a cap. They, everything they did, like they couldn't reach bigger heights because of their situation and their education level and all that stuff. So I think from a very young age, all of those things, all of their hardship really inspired me to be a better person and inspired me to just reach for more. And it's still with me. And when I think back of my why and I think back to like, what is my vision? Why am I doing this? It always goes back to that. It goes back to that little girl who like had a big dream and just wanted to follow it. And I think the worst nightmare for me was to just wake up one day and still be in that same town. Yeah.
I think about when I think about my parents who came with barely anything, or parents who came here as refugees.
Yeah. It's
like we were prepared for a moment like this. They were prepared for a moment like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I used to make fun of my parents for the way that they hoarded things or how much they would penny pinch. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm becoming like I'm going to look back on this experience. Back in my days, we experienced a pandemic. That's why you don't waste the toilet paper.
100%. Trust me. I totally get it. And I hear you and I'm with you. I think those are the stories that really end up shaping us. And we all have choices. We all have the opportunity, right? Like we have the opportunity to fall victim to our surroundings and situations and be like, oh my God, poor me, like I can't do anything. Or you can take the same situation, it's all on perspective, and be like, shit, I'm gonna do something else. Like I'm gonna do the opposite. I'm gonna take whatever is good from this situation and move forward. And I would say, like, I have to give my parents so much credit because I got that gift from them, that I was able to see perspective, and I was able to be like, oh, that's a shitty ass situation, but like I'm going to take the good part of this and I'm going to make something of it. And it takes a lot of being grounded, focus on your vision, on your higher self. Like, where do you want to be?
Yeah, I feel like for many of us who struggle with our relationship to money,
Yeah.
it's because we often see it as the root cause to disruption, or why families didn't stay intact, or yeah, that money is the root of all evil. And I feel like the way you talk about money and abundance and sales doesn't come from that place at all. And it's a part of
Yeah.
that reclamation work. What would it look like for more of us who are in these bodies, who carry these identities, to actually have that level of abundance? And I know that you mentioned that it doesn't just mean financially, but in other areas of our life. So I want to know, with all of the narrative that's happening of there's not enough, unemployment rates are at a record high, that we need to stash our chips right now and pinch our pennies and prepare for the worst. How is it that you are staying grounded and still showing up?
Uh, okay, this is like the $1,000,000 question, because all of my clients always ask me this too. But I think it comes back to, what is the story that you're believing in? Like, there is the reality of what's happening, and you can educate yourself and know, like, okay, this is actually happening in the world. But the story for me of like, there isn't enough, people are not willing to invest, people are stashing their chips, does not exist. I'm going to say that again, does not exist. And because it doesn't exist, and I'm playing around with the laws of attraction, and I'm already attracting my own reality, I am already attracting clients that are ready to invest, and they're ready to create, and they're ready to rub their two pennies together and actually say, like, hey, here's my last $1,000, but here's what I'm willing to do with it. I feel like, and this is going to be, this is probably going to be a little controversial, but I feel like more now than ever, I've seen so many people step up and invest more than I ever have seen in my business. And in fact, when the pandemic started, I saw my business triple. And again, I wasn't doing anything special. I was doing the same thing. So I wish I could be like, I was writing some, dope ass funnel emails, but I wasn't. I was still doing the same thing. I was just connecting with people. I was really teaching people about my soulful currency method. I was getting people in the door, but I saw so many people breaking down the door. And I think it's because, yes, people are scared. However, people more than ever are willing to just invest in themselves. They're willing to look at themselves and say, like, what gift do I have, and how can I contribute to the world with it, right? Whether it be meditation, yoga, whatever spiritual practice you have, and like, how can I be my own boss? And a story that most people don't know, because the story that a lot of people remember for me is that I quit my 6-figure job as a TV producer. I worked in Times Square. I worked at MTV. I had all these like fancy things, but I actually also got fired. And both those things are true, right? Because there was a moment where, when I went to yoga teacher training, I just kept thinking, like, oh my God, I wish I could do this forever. And when I came back, for whatever reason, I missed my plane. Not for whatever reason, that's the way it was supposed to be. I missed my plane, pissed my very arrogant CEO boss off, because I had already taken like 29 days off, which is unheard of in corporate. And I got fired. And not because I wasn't good at my job. I was actually running the show. And I was the one that was keeping everything together. It was very ego based, but I remember one thing became really true for me. And that was that I was never going to let anybody fire me. and that I was going to dig deep inside of me and figure out what makes me special, what makes me different, what kind of gift do I have to the world, what is my medicine. If I had to create a business, what would it be? And it was yoga and meditation. It wasn't even being a business owner or teaching people business. It was just like, I just want to teach people what has changed my life. And from there, the place of abundance opens up, because you're like clicking into like that alignment of life, of purpose, of dharma, and everything else just ends up being easy. It's crazy, because one of my clients today, Boxer, she's one of my one-on-one clients, and she's like, Melissa, like, I'm so lit up. I was up till 5 a.m. And shout out to Liz if you're hearing this. She was like, I'm up to 5 a.m. Just like picturing my dream job and like everything that I can do because of all the stuff that you've been teaching me. And like, is this what it feels like to be in alignment with like your higher self and like to be on purpose? And it's like, yeah, it should feel easy. It doesn't mean that it's never going to be hard, but it should be flowing. Yeah.
Yeah, similar to me. I was also fired, or what I like to say,
Yeah.
freed from my
Yeah.
job. But I already set the intention that I was like, I don't want to be here. And I was showing up with that energy. And I felt in my body when it was going to happen that
Yeah.
morning. And I remember going to my office desk because they scheduled an emergency meeting for me. And I was like, oh, I wonder if this is what my body's been telling me. And so I started like transferring all of my files and into my own personal drive. And of course it happened. And
Yeah.
there was at first the feeling of bitterness because I had given my whole heart to this
Yeah.
movement and this mission. And then it was a moment for me to question, how truly committed am I to this mission if I didn't have somebody to pay me for it?
Yeah.
And what would it look like for me to fully embody this vision of my future self and recognize that as long as I hold on to that vision, I'll be taken care of. And then I went and got all of these different certifications, yoga certification, Reiki, womb healing, you name it. I probably did it. But the one piece that was missing amongst all of the certifications is learning how to sell. I felt like I
Yeah.
wasn't enough and
Yeah.
that I needed to accumulate more, or that I wasn't a good enough healer. But then as soon as I started learning about sales and marketing, which is not something we talk about so often in our world, then it taught me how to show up in the frequency
Yeah.
of providing value with what it is I have to do. Because unless I was a monk living in a temple where I was provided for, and by the way, monks still got to fundraise and hustle and wake up every morning at 5 a.m. to go beg for alms from lay people. Like, unless I
Yep.
was there, then I'm going to have to find a way to pay my bills and keep my own lights on.
Yeah. And I think it's what we're called to do right now in this very physical world, being a spiritual person as well. It's just like we have to be able to live in both dimensions and do both, right? And you can. And I think that's a lot of the reasons why a lot of people seek me is for vision work. And it's like, help me create my vision for my actual business. Like, I am all these things, and how can I narrow it down? So usually people are, I'm a yoga teacher, Reiki teacher, tarot card reader, astrologer. They're all the things. And like, how do we make that a business? So like, I really try to streamline people. And the other thing is sales, because sales is scary for people. One, there's not enough education out there for spiritual people. And yes, I am kind of putting us not in a box, but as a separate kind of group, because we need to sell differently. We need to embody what we sell. We need to be what we're selling. We actually can't sell. Like, when we sell, we're not being our truest self. And that is the pain point that most of my clients feel. They're like, I don't want to sell. I don't want to feel weird, icky, salesy. And it's like, well, then don't sell anybody. When you are the embodiment of your work, you'll never sell anybody. You'll never sell anybody. You just show up with your gift, and people will see that and they'll be like, oh shit, I want that. I want that result. She is just showing up in her truest self. So yeah, we need to learn and teach our tribe what it means to soulfully sell, what it means to be in that soulful currency and in that energy. Like you hit it right on the head. Like you have to shift first into the energy and into the frequency of what that feels like. Then the abundance comes in. And I have a method that I really walk my clients through, and it's something that I've coined the soulful currency method. And when we get to that part, I know that you're going to potentially ask me. I will definitely dive in and give you the exact methodology behind it.
Yeah. Why don't we just go into it right now?
Yeah,
it's a perfect transition into it.
Yes, let's do it. So I first want to say that all the methods of business work. So I just want to make sure that like people are clear, right? Like just they don't work for me. So like I remember when I first came out, I remember paying for different courses, learning how to create a free challenge, learning how to do all this stuff. And I did it. And yes, I got results, but they felt really hard for my soul. And if you're a spirit entrepreneur, a soul entrepreneur, you know what I'm talking about. Like you don't want to send 15 emails. You don't want to invite 100 people to this free challenge. Everything feels really hard about that because we start dipping into that frequency of selling somebody for something. And that doesn't make us feel good. So that's what started happening to me. And I remember at the end of 2019, I was like, I'm no longer doing this. When I start 2020, like I am just going to connect with people. And this is what happened. I created this 4-step kind of module, if you will. And the first step was to connect. And connect means you're connecting with people on email, you're connecting with people on DMs, you're connecting with people maybe on the phone, and you're just connecting with them authentically. You're not selling to them, you're not pitching to them, you're just connecting and seeing who would be great to work with. And just so you know, FYI, I pick all of my clients. And when I mean I pick, I mean I pick. Like I will scroll online and I look at people and I look at their pages. And if I see that something is missing for them, I follow them, I encourage them, I give them free tips, I give them free coaching, because I know that there's something that I have that can help them. And I think not enough people are doing that. So I think that's step number one. Don't be afraid to connect, because that is our superpower. That is the reason why most people are probably attracted to soul and spirit entrepreneurs, because they can connect with humans very, very easily. So connect with somebody and don't sell them. Just like be their friend and be there for them, right? So that's the step number one. Step two is empower. Right? Empower the person to do something, right? So once I connect with somebody, whether it be a week, a month, maybe a year, right? Just being their biggest cheerleader, telling them like, I see you, that's what's up. Like, hey, I'm gonna share your offer on my page. You know how long I've done that for people? Like, send me your offer, I'll share it. Hey, I have a friend. Like, I'm like the super connected. They're not my client. I'm just doing this because I'm here to connect with them. The next part is empower. Empower means that you're empowering them to either get on a free call with you, so that way you can hold space for them if you're potentially offering them free tips. Or if they're way past that, maybe you're empowering them to fill out an application. And I think that part is also really, really key. You need to empower somebody to do this, not just say, hey, here's the link in the bio. Like, who's experienced that? Because I know definitely people have slid into my DM and they're like, hey, you would be perfect for my 8-week program. Click the link in the bio. Nope, I'm not, sis. I'm not. Like, I need you to do the same thing that I'm doing for my clients. I need you to support me. I need you to empower me. I need to feel the friendship, because that's what business is, right? And you said it really good. You were like, it's not just so much a business. It isn't. I pour so much of myself and my teachings into my clients. So I want to make sure that I'm empowering them in a really beautiful way. And then the third thing is you serve, right? So you have connect, which should feel really easy, and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to create any free funnels. You don't have to do anything. Just good old school connect with the person. 2, empower them, be a friend, be their biggest cheerleader. 3 is serve. How do you serve? Serve equals offers. When you offer somebody, you're offering, that's how you serve. And it's actually, for me, and we were talking offline about this, is a complete kind of service, right? It's a disservice when we don't let people know what our gift is, what our medicine is, and how we can help them. Don't do it in a sleazy way. Don't do it because you want them to get inside of your program. Don't do it because you're trying to hit a number that month. Don't do it because you want to have 5 people in your group. Do it because you know it's the thing that's going to help them. That's the difference between me and potentially other people who are selling. I don't have to sell anybody, because if I connect with you and I empower you and we get on that call and I hear that my thing that I have, my gift, is not what you need, I'm going to say, hey, so-and-so, it was great chatting with you. I hope you got some free info from this. Let's connect in another 3 months. Or maybe you can connect with my sister who has something else that's more in alignment with where you're at right now. So I never sell anybody, because if it doesn't align with where they're at, it requires us to listen. It requires us to really go through this process of having them unpack what's going on. It requires us to listen, give them the medicine. So that's how we serve. So no matter what, if you get on a call with me, you're getting something. You're either going to get into my offer and you're going to make money. 2, you're going to get some free tips. Or 3, you're going to get a banging ass recommendation. There's no losing. Like, you just got an hour worth of something, right? And the last thing is a sale. And selling, and I want whoever is listening to this, if you have a piece of paper, write selling equals closing. Not enough people ask for the sale. And I get it. This is like, a lot of people are great at connecting. They're great at empowering. They're great at potentially serving. They're great on getting on the call. They give everything away. They're like, you should do this. You should do that. Do this, do that. And then they're like, okay, bye. You missed such a huge opportunity, right? The last thing is your sale. And your sale means that you need to invite them. Hey, so-and-so, after we've been on this call for an hour, I've heard you, I've seen you. These are a couple of ways that you can work with me. What do you say? Is this something that you're interested in now? Are you interested in it later? Like, just like, be real. Have a real conversation with this person and invite them into your programs. Like, you have to actually say, I want to invite you into my program. So that is the Soulful Currency method. It's something that I teach all of my one-on-one clients. It's something that I teach all of my mastermind clients, and they kill it. It's a very simple process. You would think I am teaching somebody something that's like out of this world and that I completely invented, but this is a process that I have done time and time again, and I basically launch without launching, meaning every program that I have, I go through this program and I over exceed all of my expectations every single time. So there's nothing that I'm doing, like, I'm not doing any paid ads. I'm not doing any of that. My last mastermind brought in, I believe, 42K in sales, and no funnels, just went through connect, empower, serve, sale. That's it. Drop the story of I need to be online every single day and post a picture. No, you don't. You don't. I post maybe 2 or 3 times a week if you're lucky, and they're intuitive. So they're not anything that I'm posting in like an app that's, you know, posting it for me. I still wake up early and I just feel into like, what is the message that I want to say? And I post that way. So I think more than anything, my message here is that you can have whatever freaking business you want, but you need to show up powerfully in that. Only you can do that for you. When you show up with that power, the clients are going to flock, because we're all energetic beings and they want a little piece of that. And I think a lot of my clients have even admitted to me, they're like, Melissa, I just want to hire you because like you're bomb ass energy. Like, I want some of that. I need some of that. And I'm like, here, sister, I'm here to give it all. Like, here, you know, and just remember that you need to be the thing, and then people will come to you.
Yeah, I love how instead of saying pitch them, it's more invite them. It's what I've also been taught. And also, I feel like the gap between, well, what's often neglected before we get to the sales piece is knowing what exactly your medicine is.
Yeah.
Because there's some people who are like, well, I'm not the best Reiki teacher, or I'm not the best yoga teacher. And going back to what it is you said, a lot of times people come to you not because of your certification or how much you know, but because of your energy. And I've also been
Yeah.
told the same things, because I've
Yeah.
gone down the rabbit hole, and I still do sometimes, of
Yeah.
feeling like I need more education or I don't know enough, whether it comes to my spiritual practice, which then manifests as me showing up as the complete opposite of what it is I want to be. And also feeling like I don't know enough business, so I need to enroll in another course. And I'm not opposed to getting more education, but is it coming from a place of I'm not enough?
There you go. Like that is a huge pain point. And I would love to like ask everybody who is listening, do you feel that you're not enough to show up fully in wherever you're at, whether you're a business coach, whether you're a spiritual person, whether you're just starting your business? Like, I want to know, because the place of not knowing enough, we need to completely wipe that away, because a lot of that comes from I'm not enough. And you are enough with what you have. Yes, we need to use discernment and get educated on certain things. Like, I can't be teaching yoga without a certification. But after that, I have to just practice and be in faith that this is what the next step is. And this is why our business is the biggest test to our own spirituality. And sometimes I wonder, what elevated me more? Was it my yoga practice and that 1 year sabbatical, or is it my business, or is it both, or which one is winning the race? But I can tell you right now, it's probably my business. I feel like, had I not taken that 1 year sabbatical and had been so entrenched in my yoga and meditation, I wouldn't have been able to land here. But my gosh, does business like challenge you? Like, I'm talking about, I had 300 followers before 2 years ago. I never did a story. I was terrified to show up and do this. I was terrified to get on a mini training or do anything where people were judging me, because I was on the other side. I was a TV producer. So I was used to being the one that was like, no, you do a video for me and let me judge this video and see if it's good enough for TV. So it was so weird for me. So it does test you in every single way. And let's talk about the resistance. Let's talk about, like, I have an idea, and then is it good enough? Am I qualified enough? But we're all enough. We're all enough with exactly what we have. And that's a good reminder for us to remember that we are allowed to teach from the point of where we're at. That doesn't mean that we're not going to get more schooling. We will. And then when you get that schooling, you can create another offer, or you can create your existing offer better, but you can teach from where you're at. And I think that's something that I've adopted in my business that I want to give you as a gift. When I started my business, I was probably like 3 or 4 months in, and I already had ideas of like, I want to create this, I want to create that. And actually, the other day, my beautiful coach, Amanda Bucci, was like, how did you just show up so powerfully in the beginning when you kind of weren't, like, let's say, as well-rounded as other people? Like, you didn't have all the other experience. And I remember telling her, 2 weeks ago, because I just started teaching from the place of what I knew. I wasn't teaching anybody anything that I didn't know. I was just teaching people what I knew. And then when I learned more, I taught them a little more. And then when I learned even more, I taught them a little more. You're allowed to do that. You can teach from the place that you know. And that's it. And you're only going to know when you actually just start. Like, that's how we all figure it out. I've changed my mind 1,000 times, and that's fine.
Yeah, you're reminding me of the first time I ever taught yoga, and it was after I got my certification. And
Yeah.
I started a yoga and meditation group for people of color in Long Beach. And on the first day, I actually invited another yoga teacher to hold that portion. And they ended up not being able to do it like 2 hours before everybody was going to show up. And I couldn't find a replacement in time. And as people started walking through the door, there was like at least maybe like 20 people. I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I'm supposed to lead. And I didn't show up saying, okay, everybody, this is my first time. I hope you like me. I was like, you know what? I have a responsibility right now to hold space. It's not about me. And whenever I think about teaching yoga, it's not teaching, it's just helping people come back home to their body. And so after that hour of my first class, then I told everyone, thank you so much. This was the first time I've ever taught yoga. Please be kind. And every single person was just like, I would have never known. Or for a lot of them, it was their first time even ever participating in a yoga class, because you don't see many spaces that are solely for people of color, or yoga studios where there's a lot of diversity, to where you feel comfortable being able to show up. And so that then informed, how is it I'm going to show up in my business and the way that I hold space for clients. Is about this coming home and also being able to stretch you, but not stress you. Stretch you, whether it comes to your limbs and also your possibilities. And I think that those two go hand in hand so well. If you're able to work on your body and your spiritual practice, then that's also going to reflect in your business. Because there's a lot of people who have incredibly successful businesses and who are making a ton of money, but don't have this kind of practice to return to.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up. There's so many points that you brought up. Like, one, the diversity, which is like a core pillar for me. I came out as a lesbian when I was 14 years old. Nobody in my family was queer or even like knew the word gay. Like, they're all Hispanic. They don't even speak English. It's like, honestly, my family is ridiculous. They're funny. They're so funny. They just like didn't understand what was happening. They're like, what? What's lesbian? I don't get it, you know, just like, girls, two of them. So when I started my yoga and meditation practice, I realized that a lot of the reason why I wasn't exposed to this practice in general was because it just doesn't exist in our community for us as a Latina. And like, they don't need, I don't even think there's a word for yoga. My mom's like, yoga? You're doing the yoga? And I'm like, Mom, it's yoga. But the thing is that I wanted to also give back. So when we talk about diversity, that's such a point that hits home for me, because I too wanted to create a business that really facilitated that possibility for people, that the reasons why we are stressed and overworked or overwhelmed or can't sleep or have all these things wrong with us is because we're so far away from ourselves. And we're so disconnected from our true essence. And how do you learn that? Because you don't learn it in school. Unless you have hippie parents or people who are really connected, you probably don't learn that from them. I mean, all my friends did was like drink, smoke, and went to the club. And yes, I also did that too with them. But I didn't know what home was. I really didn't know. I didn't know until my life was, you know, flipped upside down, and it caused me to just really search for that home and that happiness. And now I'm so blessed that I'm able to bring in so much diversity into my business. And I want to just go back to like, what happens when we feel that we're not enough and we get in our own way, that we don't do the thing? I think about that sometimes. I think about like, what if I was so in my ego and so in my way back when I first started my business, and I never created that first course that helped 15 amazing women create money, that helped 15 amazing women leave their job or start their business or do all the things that it did? What if I was like, I don't know enough? It wouldn't have done anything, right? So like, again, it goes back to like, we are enough. And the last thing is that I'm never teaching somebody something that's so radical. It's just like what you said. I am teaching people how to, one, not need me, and two, how to figure it out on them by themselves, because I know for a fact that they have their own answer. I don't. I'm here guiding. It's just like a yoga teacher, right? Oftentimes when I teach yoga, I'm like, don't look to the right, don't look to the left. Stay on your own mat. Keep your eyes here. Everybody's body is different. Nobody's going to look like what you look like. Nobody can do what you do, right? Like, focus on what you're doing and forget about all the noise. We need to all laser focus on what we're doing and forget about everything everybody else is doing, because it's distracting. And that's the thing that really, the shiny red object is the thing that people start following, and they just get lost in the sauce. And they're like, damn, why didn't I ever start the thing that I wanted to? Stay laser focused. Study your offers. Keep your eyes on your own paper. Keep your eyes on your own map. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Stay in your lane. What everybody else is doing is none of your business. That's what I tell myself. Like, when my ego self is like, I wonder what so and so is doing. I tell myself, I'm like, mind your business. You don't need to know. If you needed to know, it would have popped up already. It would have appeared in your world. You don't need to go searching for something that isn't coming up for you.
I've never talked about this on my platform, but a lot of people have come to my community as a result of my own online summits and also my own challenges. And I've done a lot of the things that I've been told I'm supposed to do. And really, every single one of my clients didn't come from any of these fancy strategies or launches. I think that it helped to plant a seed of
Yeah.
trust, but they
Yeah.
all came from me just having that heart to heart connection.
Yeah. I love that.
And then every time I've facilitated in a way where I'm like, I'm going to teach you everything it is I know that I've learned about this industry. What tends to happen is the overwhelm. And then it reminds me of me when I was in that zone. And I'm like, wait a minute, why am I teaching some of the things that didn't work for me either? Or maybe didn't implement them until like maybe a year or two later. But the reflection I keep receiving is that they just appreciate having a community and somebody to cheer them on to help bring them back into alignment. And what I have come to find is that you're right. People end up coming to their own conclusions and their answers. And I just always think about how colonization has perhaps robbed us of that intuitive wisdom we all possess. And that's not to say you shouldn't seek out a mentor or a coach or a guide, whatever it is you want to call it. In fact, I highly encourage that everybody.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, need it.
Yeah. And also to do it with the intention that you are already a leader and a healer. But of course, as healers, as coaches, we also need our own guides.
Yeah, absolutely. Oftentimes a lot of people always ask me like how I scaled my business really quickly. I scaled to 6 figures in 7 months. And I think I just made a decision in the very beginning. I think it was month 2. I'm just like, I don't know what I don't know. And I see a lot of other people that look like they know what I want to know. So I'm just going to hire them. And since I started my business, I've never not had a coach. And I entered into high elite masterminds and one-on-ones. And I was eager and hungry to learn the things that I didn't learn. And I think that's where we also get to practice shrinking that ego. Because if it's really loud, and I was there, I will admit it to you, when I first started, I was like, I am a TV producer. I went to school for this. Like, I know how to create decks. I know how to create story. I'm a great storyteller. I'm a great writer. Like, easy peasy. Let's just do this. And it didn't work. And I was frustrated. And I was, hitting my head on the wall. And I was like, damn, what now? Like, I was very close to giving up because I didn't see the reward. I found it really exhausting, really hard. I found myself doing things that didn't feel natural, like posting every day. And I just wanted to give up. And you need a coach. If you want to excel your business, it's the same thing as if you wanted to be a doctor. You got to go to school. You have to learn how to do that. It's the same thing as if you wanted to learn any other trade. Like, seek out the mentors that you think would be the best fit for you. Learn from them. But the beautiful thing is that this person is just going to teach you how to trust your own self more, how to trust your Manipura, how to trust that gut, how to trust that intuition that lives in your belly. And that is the reward, that we get to use our coaches and our mentors as like, hey, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And does this make sense? And they're giving us the structures and the frameworks, and we don't have to go figure it out because they probably broke their own head figuring it out, and they get to pass down their wisdom. Yeah. But that they also teach us how to trust ourselves and how to move from that space. That's the most beautiful gift that you can give your client is, like I like to say, teach them how not to need you. I don't like, if you stay with me for a year, that's great, but you also know that you can do this and you're safe and you're guided and you're secure and you got this. And if you want me to still be your best friend in business, I will be, but you don't need me.
That's so awesome. So much is coming up. And I feel like there's a lot of people who are torn between, oh, do I invest in a coach, or maybe I should just go and get my master's and my PhD? Yeah. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing either, but my personal experience when I think about myself on the other end as a client, and now today as somebody who supports others in being able to get clear on their offerings and their story, is that I've gravitated towards specific people, not because of their accolades, but because I've seen them do the work, and
Yeah.
they've allowed me to see their mistakes, and also they kept going. And
Yeah.
so I think that the best thing that any of us can do is to just experiment and show up, show your beautiful faces, stop hiding in your medicine and your magic, because I get so inspired every time I see women of color showing up and doing this work. And also, I love that it has helped me heal my relationship with feeling like there's not enough to go around, because
Yeah.
actually I feel like I thrive more when I'm able to celebrate my other sisters and their up levels, or even refer them, and it just becomes a part of this energetic flow of currency.
I love that. And there's always enough. I think that there's always this kind of thing that comes up for people where it's like, well, if I'm doing this and somebody else is doing the same thing, then they're going to take my clients, or that. No, there's always enough. There's always room. And I always tell all of my clients that they're like, but there's somebody already talking about trauma. There's somebody already talking about mental wellness, or whatever the case is.
But they're
But
not
the thing,
you.
yeah, yeah, it's so beautiful, right? It's like they're not you, and they don't have your story, and they don't talk the way you talk, and they don't look the way you look, and they don't have your past. That nobody can do what you do. Nobody can do what I do unless they're my twin and they're also a lesbian and they came out when they were 14 and they had some refugee parents that were crazy as hell, strict, by the way, who could not go out the house. All these things, they shape you, and nobody has those experiences. In fact, they even say siblings that grow up in the same household don't have the same experiences, and they oftentimes see their parents and recall different memories, and they all lived in the same house. So like, it just goes to show you that it's all on perspective, and that we all are different, and that we all have something to give. And my reminder here is for all those women who feel like they're hiding behind their gifts, or they feel like they're not enough, and you are. Those are layers of ancestral karma and things that have happened to your mom and her mom and your dad and his dad, and all those things that get passed down to us. But you get to be the first. You get to be the first to step up. And maybe it's not $1 million business or a $10,000 business or whatever. When I first started, it was not about money. The only reason why I decided to do what I was doing was because I thought, what is the one thing that and it's so stupid because everybody always asks this question, right? Like, if you could do anything in the world and not get paid, what would you do? I went back to that question and I was like, what would I do? What would I do? What would I do? And I was like, oh, I would teach yoga. I would teach yoga and meditation like forever and ever and ever. And it's so beautiful that now my business has flourished and has exploded so much. And it's the thing that I still do. And sometimes and oftentimes I see business coaches that also have their yoga teacher training and they stop doing it because it's not worth it to get paid $20, right? For one class. But I still do it because it gives me so much joy. And oftentimes, and I always tell my students that it gives me more than what I can give them, because I'm just there to guide. And ultimately, they can get in whatever shape the hell they want. But it gives me so much pleasure and it gives me so much joy. So, like, just encouraging people to follow the path and to tap in and to do the thing that they're called to do, and to not be scared. And fuck it if you don't make any money at first. Just continue doing the thing that your soul was called to do. And it'll figure it out. Look at how I ended up here. Look at how you ended up there. Like, your soul, it just wants to journey and it wants to figure it out on its own. Nobody ever was born and was like, I'm going to be a billionaire. And that's the thing that they did. No, they had to fail. They had to do all the things that they had to do. Your soul collects those memories, collects those failures, collects all the things that it needs to be where it currently is.
Yeah, those are just stories that we get to add to the book of our life, whether or not you choose to write it. So
Yeah.
what is it then that you are learning to release as a result of all that's unfolding before us? And what are any rituals, words of wisdom, or a practice that you could invite people to incorporate in their lives so that they can find moments of stillness and grounding themselves?
Mm, release control. Release control. Um, Control was a big one for me. And I think it's a big one for a lot of people. If I do this, I will get that. If I go to school, this will happen. If I go to work, I will get a paycheck. And control comes up a lot. It comes up in relationships. It comes up time and time again. So something that is going to help all of us as a collective is to release control of the future. Nobody knows the future. You, me, nobody. So release control of what you think is going to happen, what you need to happen, because it just causes more stress and more disturbance in the body. Wake up every day, and here's a beautiful ritual that I did at the very beginning of my journey. And I wrote 5 things before my feet hit the ground on my cell phone, or if you have a notebook, put it right next to your nightstand and write 5 things that you're grateful for. And do this for more than 30 days. Do it every single day, the first thing you do. And you'll see that as you keep doing this, it'll get harder and harder, right? It's like, I'm grateful for my dog, grateful for my partner, I'm grateful for this. Then you start realizing, like, oh, I'm grateful for my legs. I'm grateful for this air. Like, you start realizing the things that actually really mean something. Like, I'm grateful for running water. And the gratefulness from that space will blast open your heart, anahata chakra, right? From that place, you can receive love. You can receive forgiveness. You can receive compassion. And that is the biggest gift that any human being can experience. That is what makes you a human being. Like, from the lower chakras, you're just doing. You're in the animalistic stages of just survival and security and finances and ego and power. But when you get here in your heart, that's where you get to be a human being. And that's the place I think we all strive to be.
I love that. So I know that you're at the time of this recording, and also when this is done, you have shared an abundance of resources and your own wisdom on your own Instagram. But if you can leave people with one action that they can take after this, and also where's that they can go to learn more about you, what would that look like?
Yeah, thank you so much, by the way, for having me. This has been so beautiful and so amazing. Where you can find me is at I am Melissa Ruiz. That's my Instagram. My page is IamMelissaRuiz.com if you want to look me up there, and you can just take a look at any of the programs that I have to offer. The biggest words of wisdom that I can offer anybody that's watching this is to move from intuition. Don't let anything stop you, and start today. I think oftentimes we just wait too long. And even I did in my business. And I look back and I'm like, I could have been so much further along. I could have made more money, right? But we all kind of get stuck in our ways, and we can't regret the past, but start now. Start now. There's a place for you. There's room for you. And if you ever walk in a room and you feel like there isn't space, make space. Make space
Snap,
for yourself.
snap.
Yeah.
Take up that space, because we need more of us who are
Yeah.
radically showing up and being an embodiment of possibilities, and also dismantling this narrative that just because you're a woman, just because you're a person of color, just because you're queer, doesn't mean that you don't have a place, because we're going to build our own darn tables and y'all can come sit next to us if you want.
Yes, and I love that. And that's why I created my business. I didn't see myself in the space that I wanted to. And I was just like, I'm going to create my own space. And that's going to be good enough. And the people who want to have a seat, like, I'm going to invite them. And that's where this mythology came from too, like connecting, inviting, empowering. Like, I am so blessed. Thank you so much for having me. Like, this has been honestly like the easiest interview, plus like super fun. And the conversation was just so free flowing.
Yes, thank you. And of course, everyone, please go to Melissa's Instagram. I love it. She's practically given information that many of us have paid thousands and thousands of dollars to learn for free. but it's your job to take the action. And if you have a challenging time taking an action, that's why you know that you don't have to walk this path alone, and we're here to support you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.